disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing.
Stop everything you're doing right now. Turn off the TV. Close every other tab. Silence your phone. And lock the door. Because what we're about to break down is bigger than sports. This is the post-mortem of a dynasty that never even got the chance to breathe. In real time, we are watching what may be the most catastrophic financial collapse women's basketball has ever seen. A meltdown so extreme it threatens to sink the Indiana Fever before the opening tip is even in the air. If you're hearing this, you're standing on the front line of a full-blown revolution. Over the last 48 hours, the phones inside the Indiana Fever ticket office haven't stopped ringing. But make no mistake, this isn't fans chasing playoff dreams or sponsors lining up for courtside space. These calls are funeral bells. Multiple sources deep inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse confirm a mass exodus is underway. Thousands, literally thousands, of season ticket holders, the backbone of this franchise, are flooding customer service with a single, final demand. Refund my money. Cancel my seat. I'm done. The waiting list the front office bragged about for years hasn't just shrunk. It has completely evaporated. The Caitlin Clark economy that was supposed to lift the league into a new era has slammed headfirst into a wall of fan resentment, and the fallout is just beginning.
Has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing, that it doesn't go both ways, or it hasn't gone both ways. But we also can't allow that to consume us, right? Like, we've got to be able to play through that. We've got to be able to control the things that we can control.
And standing at the center of this wreckage, watching her career ambitions go up in flames, is head coach Stephanie White. The reports coming out of Indianapolis are chilling. By every account, White is in a state of full-blown panic, not just frustrated, but genuinely terrified. Sources close to the staff describe her as apoplectic, storming through executive hallways, slamming doors, throwing files, unloading on the general manager, and slowly realizing she may have made the worst decision of her professional life. She didn't leave Connecticut for this chaos by accident. She walked away from a safe, championship-caliber situation because she was sold a vision. She was promised a dynasty. She was promised the 90s Bulls. She was promised Caitlin Clark, 18,000 screaming fans every night, and a city ready to worship basketball again. Instead, she woke up to a nightmare. A season on the brink of being played in a ghost town. A franchise the city appears to be actively abandoning. She is the captain of the Titanic, and she just noticed the lifeboats are gone. This wasn't a simple job change. It was a legacy move, a chance to cement her name in history. And now sources say that in a closed-door emergency meeting just hours ago, White confronted ownership with a stack of cancellation forms, slammed them on the table, and delivered an ultimatum that froze the room. I cannot coach in a graveyard. You promised me an empire and handed me a disaster. If this building is empty on opening night, I am not taking the fall. And the psychology of that moment matters. Coaches need energy. Young teams like the Fever survive on adrenaline. If the seats are empty, or worse, if the few fans who show up are wearing boycott shirts, how do you motivate Aaliyah Boston? How do you ask Kelsey Mitchell to sacrifice her body for a loose ball when the people she's playing for have checked out? White knows home court advantage was the thin line protecting this roster from the league sharks, and without it, Indiana is exposed. So why now? Why did the dam finally break? The answer traces directly back to Caitlin Clark's historic NBC Universal deal. For years, the WNBA operated like a monopoly, telling fans that if they wanted Caitlin Clark, they had to play by the league's rules, pay the prices, tolerate the officiating, and accept the disrespect, because there was no alternative. The product was held hostage, but when Clark signed with NBC, she handed fans bolt cutters. The hostage situation ended. Indiana fans did the math instantly. They realized they no longer needed the WNBA to see Caitlin Clark thrive. Lockout or not, collapse or not, she would still be on their TVs every Sunday night, sitting next to NBA legends, treated like the superstar she is. The fear of missing out vanished, the leverage flipped overnight, and that's why refund requests are flooding in. Why pay $4,000 for season tickets to a league you feel despises your favorite player when you can watch her succeed on national television for free? It's a cold, calculated decision, and it's getting the Fever financially. We're not talking about a dip, we're talking about a bloodbath. Insider projections suggest over $15 million in ticket revenue alone could vanish if refunds are honored, and that's before merchandise, concessions, parking, and local TV money evaporate. Unconfirmed reports already suggest major local sponsors are nervous, and sponsors hate toxicity. Once the narrative shifts from support our team to boycott the league, logos disappear fast. Stephanie White knows her salary, her staff, and player resources all hang on this revenue stream. And if it dries up, the first-class experience she was promised becomes a budget operation overnight. Private travel gone, marketing gone, prestige gone. And then comes the ghost town effect, the most demoralizing environment in sports. An 18,000-seat arena with echoes instead of noise, sneakers squeaking louder than cheers, opponents laughing from the bench. White is terrified the atmosphere will shatter the confidence of her young stars and turn Indiana into a toxic destination no free agent wants to touch. She feels betrayed, misled by league leadership, dragged into a culture war she never signed up for. And looming over all of it is Caitlin Clark's silence, deafening and powerful. The fans are fighting for her, and she doesn't have to say a word. For Stephanie White, that silence is the most frightening sound of all that feels she was the victim of a bait and stop everything you're doing right now. Shut off the TV, close every tab, silence your phone, and lock the door, because what we're about to talk about is bigger than sports. This is the post-mortem of a dynasty that never even got the chance to live. Right now, we are watching what may be the most catastrophic financial implosion in the history of women's basketball. A collapse so violent it threatens to cripple the Indiana Fever before opening night even arrives. If you're hearing this, you're not just a fan. You're standing on the front lines of a revolt. Over the last 48 hours, the Indiana Fever ticket office hasn't stopped ringing. But don't get it twisted. These aren't fans scrambling for playoff seats or sponsors chasing exposure. These calls sound more like a funeral bell. Multiple sources inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse have confirmed a full-scale exodus, with thousands, yes thousands, of season ticket holders flooding the lines with the same cold demand. Refund me. Cancel my seat. I'm done. The wait list the front office bragged about for 2 straight years hasn't just shrunk. It's vanished. The Caitlin Clark economy that was supposed to lift the entire league has slammed headfirst into a wall of resentment, and now Stephanie White is standing in the wreckage. When she interviewed for this job, she was likely told the labor tensions were overblown, that fan loyalty was unbreakable, and that Caitlin Clark was content. But now she sees the truth clearly. A league openly at war with its own star, a commissioner in Kathy Engelbert who has lost complete control of the narrative, and a franchise trapped in the middle. Stephanie White is a winner, not a rebuild coach, not a spokesperson for cultural battles, and certainly not someone who signs up for political landmines. She wants to win basketball games. Yet she's been forced into the role of symbol for everything fans feel betrayed by. When fans boycott the Fever, they're boycotting her team, and that cuts deep. The kind of pressure that keeps you staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. Then there's Caitlin Clark, whose silence during this ticket exodus is louder than any statement she could make. And why wouldn't it be? This boycott hands her unprecedented leverage, with fans effectively telling the league, treat her right or we starve you. While she doesn't have to lift a finger, she can prepare for her NBC debut and watch the Fever front office sweat. But for Stephanie White, that silence is terrifying, because she needs Caitlin to tell fans to stay. And Caitlin isn't doing that. That absence raises an uncomfortable question. What if Caitlin isn't committed to saving this franchise at all? What if she's looking at that NBC deal and realizing she has a lifeboat, that she doesn't have to go down with the ship? If White senses her star has 1 foot out the door, then the panic makes perfect sense. This no Caitlin, no cash movement isn't just a slogan, it's a mindset. Former season ticket holders tell the same story over and over, describing an emotional breaking point. One longtime fan said he refused to keep paying to watch his daughter's hero get targeted while officials looked away, refusing to support a league that allows veterans to bully a 22-year-old while pretending nothing is wrong. That feeling is spreading fast, like a contagion, as fans emotionally divorce themselves from a league they feel betrayed them after investing their hearts and their money. Now they're taking the power back, and that's the nightmare haunting league offices. Because if it works in Indiana, What stops fans in Chicago, Las Vegas, or New York from doing the same? The WNBA isn't insulated like the NBA. It lives on gate revenue and momentum, and once momentum flips, the structure becomes dangerously fragile. Stephanie White is the canary in the coal mine, and her anxiety is the first warning that the league's foundation is cracking. The clock is ticking toward opening night, and reports suggest White has given ownership a deadline, demanding real assurances and a plan to win the fans back. But what plan even exists? You can't force fans to spend money, and you can't force competence from a league office. The Fever are trapped in a prison they built themselves by taking their supporters for granted, and Stephanie White is realizing she might be left guarding an empty building. So as we stare into the possibility of a canceled season in spirit, if not in name, we have to ask the uncomfortable question. Is this the end of the Indiana Fever as a powerhouse? Can any franchise recover from a boycott of this scale? Trust is like a mirror. Once it shatters, you can glue it together, but the cracks never disappear. And right now the trust between the Fever and their fans is in pieces. Stephanie White came home to win, and instead she's holding a broom, trying to sweep up the shards of a dream that collapsed overnight. Now it's on you, because you're the ones driving this moment. If you were in her shoes, would you walk away to save your reputation? And if you're a fan, is there anything the Fever could do to bring you back? Or is the bridge burned for good? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this isn't just another sports debate. This is the most important conversation happening right now. The revolution is televised, the boycott is real, and the Indiana Fever are fighting for survival. Don't blink, because the next domino could be the franchise itself.